Hello, Megan. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, good to meet you.
Good to finally meet you. What's your business name?
It's Boise Beauty Boards.
And that's Charcuterie?
Yes, all charcuterie.
How did you get into that?
It's kind of a funny story. I was doing it as a hobby. I actually started when my son graduated high school. I wanted to do a big spread for his graduation party. And I just started going on Pinterest, looking at different things. And then from there, I started doing holidays and birthday parties for my friends. And at one particular birthday party, all the girls were like going crazy because I made a salami rose. And one of my friends at that party was like, you should start a business. And I was working full time. I'm like, no, that sounds like too much work. I don't want to do that. And unbeknownst to me, they started referring me out to their friends. And actually got me my first client. And then I have a marketing background, so I built all my website and social media pages in like less than a week and just started promoting myself, figuring it all out.
I was wondering if you had some sort of like graphic design marketing background, because your ad for the summer magazine is beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do have a marketing background. I've been in marketing sales pretty much for like 10 plus years.
Okay.
Before I started doing this. Obviously, this is my full-time job now.
Yeah.
But I still get to use a lot of my marketing stuff for Reels, Instagram, Facebook ads and everything. So yeah, it works.
Kind of prepared you for this stage.
Yeah, it kind of helped me, figure out like how to promote myself for once instead of other businesses.
Yeah.
So it was kind of it was tricky because at first I was not really comfortable getting in front of the camera and kind of shy. And over the past, I'd say, year and a half, I've gotten over that fear.
It is funny how quick you can get over that just by just showing up and doing it. Because before I started this, I was terrified. I didn't want to do it either. But now it's kind of like just having a conversation, and it just feels more natural than I expected it to.
Yeah, well, and it's also people are more engaged when they know the face behind the company. They want to know who you are, what you're all about, how you got started. So I think it's good to be able to show up for your business instead of just pushing food pictures, because I can do food pictures all day, but the most views are with me in front of the camera.
Yeah, I do think that's huge too with social media. Like, you just see people's work and it's hard to get a gauge on who they are, because I feel like there's been this huge shift of like people want to work with people, not like huge companies and stuff. They want to know who they're working with.
Right, and that's very true. There's a lot of companies now, that larger companies, that are trying to be more personable by doing like the face talking in the car kind of like ads, because they're seeing that that's more engagement for the smaller businesses that have been doing it for years. So, and I'm still, still a little camera shy. I still have a lot of ups and downs with being in front of the camera. There's a lot of people that, as you gain more popularity, people want to hate on you and everything. So I've gotten some nasty DMs and stuff like that. But I'm like, I'm not going to let them win. I'm going to keep going and show up for my business and for the people that are, wanting me.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like, you're only looking out for yourself. Like, they're not going to pay your bills.
Right. Exactly.
But it does boost engagement. So that's another plus.
Yeah. There was so funny. So I work with a team who does monthly content creation. And so I did one video where I was basically just going up to the front door, delivering a box of charcuterie. That got reposted, gained well over 1 million views. It ended up getting on Reddit under some channel that was just mocking people. And I was like, okay, I don't know what's wrong with this video.
Yeah.
I got some DMs from it, but I was just like, whatever. It's over 1 million views. And I actually reposted it. I did it last year, and then I reposted it this year, and it still like gained traction again.
Oh my
so I was like, okay, it's working for the algorithm.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
That is crazy. I've always wondered, sorry, this is kind of a tangent, not really what we're here to talk about, but I've always wondered like how those people can get paid for posting that content when it's not original content. But then apps like TikTok are so like sticklers on not paying out for it not being original content. Have you seen that?
I think that they just reposted it, so it's not
so
like
it's not like
something that they're
paid?
getting paid for
Okay.
or anything like that. They're just basically sharing it, doing whatever, trying to, be like, oh, look at this girl. She's delivering charcuterie and she's got a weird smile or something like that. It's like, okay, whatever.
People are like nasty. And I thought we kind of got over the whole like keyboard warrior thing, but even like doing this, like some of the stuff that I like get DM'd or comments, not so much comments, mostly DMs. It's crazy. You have to have thick skin.
That's true. You have to have thick skin. And I think one of the things with social media is the more that you get popular, the more you are going to have those people coming in. And I had to really I leaned on my husband a lot. I leaned on my friends, but I really had to separate what they were saying and what the people that know me were saying. So it was really hard because there was a time where I was just like, that's it. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to show my face. This is why I don't like doing that. But at the end, it's just giving them more power. So I was like, no, I like to be the face of my brand. I've worked and built this company for 3 years. I'm going to be the face of it and show up for stupid little videos or, great content, whatever it is.
It's crazy. But anyway, so what is your favorite charcuterie board style to make? Like for weddings, just birthday parties, different events?
So I've done all sorts of charcuterie boards. I really like being creative, displaying grazing tables, especially at weddings and everything. I have done little personalized touches with like little diamond rings or, hearts made out of cheese and stuff like that. So it's really kind of, when I talk to brides, I want to know like what their colors are, what their favorite cheese is, obviously any dietary allergies, those kinds of things. And I really dive into making it personable for them. Obviously, I have a system where I know like how much I need of each ingredient and all that kind of stuff. But if they have something that they're like, oh, I really love Gouda cheese, well, I'm going to get 3 different types of Gouda for you.
Side tangent.
I do love cheese, though.
Yeah, there's a part in there. She's just like, well, Gouda's my favorite. And it's such a fun, it's a dumb, funny thing that I like. Anyways.
Yeah. So, and this year I've started looking at elevating and doing more luxury charcuterie boards. So I'm getting even better cheeses that are international and everything. I know I can go to the store and get, goat cheese or, Velveetino, but I like to get there's a port wine derby cheese from the UK that is delicious, that people love, and it goes really well with like a nice, Merlot or something like that. And I like learning about that and incorporating it into my spreads. Like, this is a good cheese for this. This is a good cheese for that. Even when I go to some of the wineries, like I've gone to Talea Winery, Barbarian Brewing, going to Split Rail Winery this weekend. I know what their wines are, so I like to get the cheeses that can pair well with those wines that they have there for their guests.
It's such an important attention to detail factor, because I feel like a lot of the charcuterie boards and grazing tables that I've seen are just kind of like aesthetically pleasing, but don't get into that deeper level of understanding of the flavor profiles and everything like that.
Yeah, that's one thing that I want to kind of stand out amongst everyone. There's a lot of people that, can put just regular cheese on a board and, salami and, make it look pretty. But when you're getting those right flavors that, can pair well together, or even taking like, I've been looking into what they call canapes, which is like bite-sized, like little snacks. So like you take like some bread and goat cheese with like apricot and almond, and it all goes together. And it's just the learning the little tricks of, what pairs well with each other, and making sure that, people can grab especially even when you're doing a grazing table, putting things together that people can grab. So if you've got, certain kind of cheese that goes well with like a turkey salami, you want to put it next to that and everything.
Okay. I see. Again, something else I didn't even like realize as far as there's almost a science behind it. I mean, it probably is called a science behind it.
It, yeah, I mean, I just have developed a love for what I do and have learned, different things along the way to, again, make me like stand
And
out a little
yeah.
bit and be able to really show the client or the bride or whoever that I know what I'm doing. I have a couple regular people that do like the Idaho wine tours, and so I'm like, well, what wineries are you going to? And getting cheeses and stuff that will pair well with that and
Yeah.
everything.
That's really cool. I've seen lately, I don't know if it's just a trend or not, but like the individual charcuterie cups, do you do those as well?
Yep, that's my most popular item.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I know that a lot of people say it's a lot of work. I've gotten it down where I love doing it because it's so easy. You do the skewers, the fruit, and then the cups, and it's one of those things that people just love, grabbing it
Mm.
and then exploring what's in there. And I put a lot in my cups. A lot of people will do little, bits and pieces, but I make sure my cups are full. And I want to get like good crackers that again pair well with everything. I want to get, I usually do salami and then different cheeses. And I try to have like a couple different cheeses in my cups. So it's not just one or two. I want to make sure there's a whole flavor palette there. But I do that for like doing one this week for guy who built a home and is kind of showcasing it to realtors and stuff like that. So a lot of open houses and stuff would be great. Grand openings for businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even tell you how many charcuterie cups I've done in the past 3 years. It's a lot.
Well, and there's just such a market for like all those things I never would have. I mean, like you always know that probably there's going to be food, but you never think about like who's doing the food and the detail that goes into it. And it is impressive to be able to market to all those different types of companies.
Yeah, it's good in the sense that you have a wide market and so you can kind of go here and there and everything. I do love weddings. Like those are my favorite. I actually got married a little over a year ago, so I'm kind of newlywed and was in that whole wedding season and all that kind of stuff. And weddings are just, more luxurious and have, all the bells and whistles and everything. So my first year of doing my business, I really was just gun ho about weddings. And I now, like, I still do like tons of weddings, but I've also looked into like more corporate events and more, businesses and stuff like that because it just gives me, weddings are usually on the weekends. So it gives me something to do during the week.
Yeah, right.
And I have had a lot of great corporate clients that are just like, yep, we want you. Here's what we're going to do. How many people? And just like, bam, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So do you notice you were talking about going into the luxury side of things. Do you notice that is more with corporate or weddings that you're getting those types of clients?
I'm doing it for everyone.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I'm like trying to elevate myself to be like, this is how much I am worth because I am doing more luxury cheeses. I'm doing more luxury tables.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't matter if it's a corporate client or a bride. I want to be across the board that luxury charcuterie girl. And a lot of it, people, believe it or not, in the corporate world are, cheese fanatics. They want to try, different cheeses. They're not, I mean, you think about all the men dressed in suits and ties, but there's a lot of women that, are in business now and they love beautiful spreads and everything else. And so it's for everyone, really.
Yeah. What's your favorite kind of cheese?
Great question. So it's really weird. It's not even an expensive cheese, but it's called Purple Moon cheese. It's soaked in red wine. It's got like kind of like a buttery flavor and everything. And I can like get it they don't sell it at Walmart anymore, but I can get it at like the grocery outlet sells it. There's I think some Albertsons sell it. But it's one of those cheeses that I just kind of like picked up and I was like, this is it. This is what I like. And I try to put that on the boards every once in a while. I do know there's a huckleberry cheese that's local here. I'm trying to remember the cheese name, but that one is a really good one too. It's a local Idaho cheese. It's been really.
I feel like that would be really good though.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that would be really tasty.
Yeah.
Cheese is funny, like as far as the different kinds of cheeses lead to the different kind of flavor profiles. But then also the, I don't know the word, but the availability to like go across different flavor profiles. I know that that's not the right word, but.
Yeah, well, if you go to the Albertsons marketplace and you just go and look at all the cheeses that they have there, it's amazing. I think they said that there's over like 6,000 different cheeses in the world. I mean, you think of France, they've got like, 20 different kinds of brie. But yeah, there's a lot of different flavor palettes that you can do with cheese. And the one thing that I like is, again, pairing that. So looking at the different kinds of meat, the different kinds of crackers that I can do different things with. And it's been an interesting journey to just experience it. I've kind of, when I started the business, I liked the creative side. Now I feel like I'm more of like the cheese kind of entrepreneur, or not entrepreneur, I guess the cheese fanatic.
Oh, I know the word that you're thinking.
The cheese connoisseur, just trying to make sure that, I put the right thing on the right plate.
I don't want to give any trade secrets away, but in your cups, what's your favorite mixture of fruits, vegetables, and cheese?
So my cups are pretty standard, and it's not a trade secret. Basically, I put kind of like mixed nuts on the bottom. I do like a dried apricot, pretzel, either like a chocolate dip pretzel or like a yogurt pretzel. And then I usually have have this cracker that I get at Fred Meyer, of all places, and it's kind of got like a everything bagel seasoning on it. And it's one of those tall crackers, so it kind of sticks out above the cup. So I like using those. And then I have one skewer that's like the meat, cheese, and olive, and I'll do different kinds of cheeses on there. And then I'll have another skewer with berries, so it'd be like a strawberry, blackberry, and blueberries on it. And then I'll have an extra cheese in the back, usually like a pepper jack or some kind of other cheese that I can find. And then a honey stick, and then garnish it with rosemary, or I get these like little sunflower seed kind of things that are good to put in the cups.
That sounds really
so yeah, I should have brought you one.
I've actually been thinking about that lately. I was like, how can we help these businesses like showcase what their business is and incorporate that with the podcast? So I've been thinking about that lately, and I'm going to try to figure something out. But
yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've been able to establish myself enough in the community that a lot of people know me. I have done like the wedding shows. I've done like the girls' day out, some different little expos and everything. And I really try. And then I'm part of like 4 or 5 different networking groups. Nice. So I am always out there, like just talking to people, showing up different places, supporting other women in business. I mean, that's really important to me. Because there's a lot of times where you're an entrepreneur and you feel like you're just on an island and no one else is around you. And so I have been able to surround myself with a community, a lot of people that just are like, oh, Megan, we saw you the other day, or we were at your event where like I did this event probably a month ago, and I didn't even know what it was. But it was at a showroom with kitchen, counters and stovetops and all this stuff. So it was kind of like a household, kind of like showroom. And I did this huge graze on one of their kitchen countertops where they showed me, and they said it was casino night themed and everything. So I did all the themes there. And then I found out that it was the Boise Contractors Association, Contractor and Builders Association. And I was like, oh, okay. I actually know people from there.
Oh,
and so I found out that one of the girls that I know like took a picture and she's like, oh my gosh, was here and I saw your spread and everything. And I'm like, okay.
It's nice that do you have like business cards near the spread, or she just knew it was your work?
Yeah, there's business cards
Okay.
there. And then there was I had basically a grazing table and cups. On my cups, it had my logo and everything on it. So
that's still awesome that you're able to get recognized.
Yeah.
With all the hard work that you've put in.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, okay. Didn't know what, I didn't even really know exactly what the event was. I just was hired and I came and did it.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And then I got all these like pictures and I'm like, oh, okay, I know what it, what it was for.
During events, are you on site or you just drop it off and then pick it up?
Yeah, so I have been able to really work with a lot of people where I drop it off and, display it all beautiful and everything. And then basically they take the food home or they store it or whatever and clean up afterwards. So it's mostly drop off. I do have it where I can stay and clean up. It's just an extra cost or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's worked for me. And I have it in my contract where like if I'm using tiers and trays and stuff that they're just returned to me after the event. Okay. And so it kind of is all in my contract. It's worked out. I mean, I've only had 2 occasions where I've had to track down people to get my stuff back.
Oh no.
But that's good. In 3 years, like only 2 people. Yeah. I'm like, I think a lot of people here in Boise are very trustworthy and they want to support local, so they're gonna do good.
Yeah. What's one thing that your clients would say about working with you?
What my clients say about working with me? Well, I've got over 80 plus Google reviews that say I'm great and amazing and they love my stuff and I'm always very professional. I always am on time. That's my pet peeve is like not being on time. So I always like that. And then I just deliver fresh, ingredients. I try to make things mostly like the day of, like I won't get berries and strawberries until like, right before an event to make sure that they're like fresh and everything. So a lot of people just love the fact that I am, that professional, provider of the charcuterie and everything.
How long does it normally take you to set up a grazing table?
It depends on how many people it's for. So normally if it's like for 100 people, I'll have someone helping me and it takes me about an hour to set up. If it's for less, if I have it where it's like 40 people or less, I can do it on my own. It still takes me an hour. But any more than 40 people, I try to have someone help me. And that's usually, I don't have any full-time employees. So it's usually my daughter who's 15. She's kind of been my right-hand woman and has helped me since I started the business and has a very creative eye and actually does a lot of the things that I want.
That's awesome.
So that's been helpful. And then I have a couple friends and their family members that have stepped in to help me. But it's funny that you asked that because I have been thinking about hiring someone part-time to, try to just have more consistency. And I have had so many people offer to help me along my journey. And I don't know.
Hard.
It's hard. It's hard because you have to trust that person is going to do what you've done for the past, several years.
Yeah. It's like it's your baby. You don't want to just give it away. Like, it's not like you're giving it away, but I know how you feel. Kind of like debating the same thing, like having somebody help me but then I don't want to like relinquish control, but I also don't want to be a micromanager. So I understand what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. And I want to make sure that anyone that I do have with me kind of knows my heart in it because I want them to value it as much as I do. And that's where I know my daughter, she values it because she's seen me grow this business and everything else.
Yeah.
So that's been
And it's helpful probably that she has your eye versus you'd have to train somebody else or like guide somebody else to have the same vision as far as setting up the board. But it sounds like she has that already, right?
Yeah. She's actually more artistic than me. That's awesome. I'm like, wow, okay, you just surpassed me. Great.
It'll be handed down to her. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Have you had any unexpected or funny moments that have happened at an event or wedding?
Let's see. So for me, it's kind of different because a lot of times I get hired by the bride or the mother of the bride and don't really go through the wedding planner as much. So I do know quite a few wedding planners in the area and everything, but a lot of times I'm just hired off this, And I guess my one experience that stands out to me is I did get hired by a mother of the bride who was very specific on what she wanted. She was trying to, I guess, negotiate the price with me by me using less desirable ingredients. She was like, why don't we just take some sliced cheese and put it on a board? And I'm like, that's not what I do. Like, no.
And you don't want your business reflected that way.
Yeah. So there was a lot of, she gave me a great review. Everything worked out. I did basically individual trays for each of the tables for the wedding. And I think it was like trays, so it was a lot.
Yeah.
And I had a whole team helping me with that. It was basically an all-day process, and I was holding my breath the whole time. But it was like, she's like, oh, just put some of this on there. Just put some of this on there. And I'm like, you hired me because you like my way of doing charcuterie, so let me do my charcuterie. And I have had a couple people ask me, like, do people tell you what is going on, what they want on the board? And I'm like, I'm always open to requests. I'm always open. If you have like a favorite of something, I'll try to, accommodate that. Obviously, like gluten-free and stuff, that I'll, accept. But I like to be able to be creative. And if you're trying to tell me what to put on my board, that limits my creativity. And I know, again, what kinds of cheeses and meats and stuff all go together. So it's been, sometimes I have to educate people and let them know, like, hey, I'm the expert. Let me do what I can do, and you will be happy. Trust me.
Yeah, right.
So
I bet that, is that conversation, like the educating conversation, pretty hard to have, or is it just dependent on the person?
It is when you have someone trying to negotiate the price. And after that time, I was like, I'm going to stick to my budgets and my pricing and all that.
Yeah. Because if they're worried about the price, like, there's always somebody that'll do it cheaper, which is not ideal, but you're also not going to lessen your quality just to match their budget.
Yeah, and I think that's really the hard thing for a lot of new people that come into this industry is, obviously when you start out at a lesser price because you're new and you're just trying to get the, recognition and everything else. But I've been doing this for 3 years. I know what I'm doing. And again, if you don't want to pay my pricing, then you're not my customer. And I've had to really learn that. In fact, I had a girlfriend just tell me a couple weeks ago, like, you deserve what you are worth, and don't lessen that. Don't try to, cheapen your value. And it's something that I have had to do in my personal life, and now here I am doing it in my business. So it's kind of a whole
learning curve.
Yeah.
That's hard. So a conversation I've been having lately is the fact that Idaho has become like this huge destination wedding market. Have you noticed anything like that on out-of-state bookings?
No, not for me personally. I have noticed there is a lot of venues, they get filled up really quickly.
Yeah.
And that has been a problem for a while. So I think there's a couple of venues that opened in the last year and a half that have helped with that, but it's still, there are so many people coming or people that are, out of state that want to get married, and they are, snapping up all the venues and everything. I was lucky for my own wedding. I got married in the winter, so it wasn't as, a hard fight. But I've seen that, especially when I talk to people at wedding shows, we're like, do you have a venue yet? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, when's the wedding? Oh, in the spring. And I'm like,
Good luck.
have fun. So, and then I think also it has to do with there's not enough services here either. There's quite a few catering places. So you can get catering quite a bit. If you're looking for charcuterie, there's only a select few. But I'm not a full-blown caterer. I don't do any hot foods or anything. I can do salads and sandwiches to elevate a little bit, but that's about it.
Do you do desserts at all? Or?
I have someone that does desserts,
Okay.
actually, someone that's on your wall there that does desserts
She's
for
awesome.
me. She and I have partnered together for pretty much since we started our businesses.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, and that's one of the things I've found is like when you are in that wedding industry, you've got to find your partners. And I've been able to connect with a lot of people to partner with them and everything. But anyway, so like with the catering, there's a lot of restaurants and stuff like that can do catering for large events. And for me, I have done large events. I've done like over 300 people for Grazing Table, but that's just
just out of pure curiosity, how many like regular size event tables, like the ones like the fold up tables?
Yeah.
How many of those did you have to do for a 300 person?
6-foot tables, so 36 feet of grazing, and we added sandwiches in with that. So it was a large table. I had 3 other people help me with it. It was basically a whole week of it, like prepping and planning and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously getting supplies way in advance. But then that we got there, that one was actually a 2-hour setup because we got there and it was funny. It was, they wanted us to be done by 9 a.m. So we got there at 7 to start setting up.
Yeah.
That was a fun morning. I was like, okay, here we are. I mean, I was doing stuff like at, 5 in the morning to get ready. And it's just, there's some days where you're getting up early, and then there's some days where, okay, I don't have anything till the evening. So it just fluctuates and everything.
Was it for the whole wedding itself or mostly just the wedding party? Specific one?
It wasn't a wedding. It was a corporate event. Yeah.
I was like, nobody's going to be there besides like the bridal party getting ready, most likely.
Yeah.
Because most weddings are in the evening, typically.
Yeah, afternoon or evenings and everything. Yeah, so this was kind of a different event and everything.
Okay.
But it worked out. It was great. We got everything done.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy. What is a common misconception couples have about charcuterie boards or grazing tables?
So here's a good one. A lot of people think that you can run a charcuterie business out of your home. And the answer to that is you can until you get caught. Because it is cheese and meat and it has to be a certain temperature, you are required to have a health department license and have a commercial kitchen to work out of. And then you also have to have like insurance and stuff like that. So I actually had to be inspected by the health department at my kitchen. I got my food and safety license and health department, and it took a while to get all that, dialed in. And it's really important when you are, especially when I see like so many people on Facebook that are like, oh yeah, we have Easter boards available. And I'm like, I don't know you and you probably aren't licensed.
Yeah.
So
something I've seen pop up a lot lately is the charcuterie carts.
Yes.
I imagine they would have the same.
I believe so. Yeah. I have my husband got all the material for my charcuterie cart. It's still in pieces though. Yeah. So eventually it will get done, but I've got enough business. I'm like, I'm not worried about it. It's fun. It's a good experience with the charcuterie carts and everything. But yeah, I definitely believe they have to be licensed and insured.
Which is good for the consumer because, I mean, you don't want just some random, I don't want to say nasty person, but like maybe not to the high quality that it would need to be to deal with food and stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you have to think about it. If you're going into a restaurant, they've got their grade A or whatever on their window. They've had to go through all their inspections. And that's, and then they have like the catering where, you've got the mobile transport and you have to, get all that figured out. And there's a lot of requirements. And so if you're doing, bakeries and like sourdough and stuff like that is a little bit different because it's being cooked. But when you have raw food that's not being cooked, there's a different standard for that. So that's something that I have seen quite a bit, that people don't realize that they need to hire a charcuterie person that's licensed and insured and all that kind of stuff. And there's, like I said, I think I probably know about 10 in the Valley who are actually licensed and insured.
And I've seen a lot more than 10 posting on like the Facebook groups and stuff. So that's, I don't want to say scary, but I mean, definitely something that I wouldn't even thought to know about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So hopefully this gets the PSA out there.
Yeah.
If a couple is on the fence about hiring you for a charcuterie board, grazing table, or the little cups, what would you tell them?
Well, I think the only way they'd be on the fence about it is cost. Mm-hmm. And I just tell them, if you go to the grocery store now, things are expensive. And when it comes to meat and cheese, it's like double that. So there has been a rise in costs just for your daily groceries. So there is going to be a cost for that charcuterie board. And I have been told by many people, I tried to do a charcuterie board. I went to Trader Joe's and got all this stuff. I spent way more than I should. I had extras and it didn't look anything like yours. And it's like, well, that's because I have learned how to develop my skills. I also have a lot of wholesale accounts, so I can get things for a better price in bulk. Recently I got a meat slicer, which is scary to be trying to cut meat and everything, but I can now get like those big chunks of like salami and prosciutto and cut it down myself to help with the costs and everything. And a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, I can do my own. Well, good luck. You can do your own. It's not like a skill that you have to learn in school or anything. You can go on Pinterest like I did many years ago and figure it out. But after time and practice, there's a lot more science, like we talked about, that goes into it. Yeah. And that's where I can come in and help. And so people that are on the fence aren't usually on the fence about wanting charcuterie. It's more about the price factor and everything. Is there anything specific that you tell them that like kind of helps with that decision, or it's more of an education type thing in the specific moment? So one thing I have noticed from a few people is that they charge for like delivery, they charge for setup, they have a lot of extra fees. So if they're doing a grazing table, let's say for $15 a person, that's great. But then they have all these extra fees like setup, tear down, what all. My fees are all included. So that's what I try to say is like, I'm going to let you have all these tiers and trays to make everything beautiful, and you just return them after the event. I'm going to bring all the food and everything, all the serving utensils. Sometimes I'll provide plates and napkins if it's a larger event and everything. And then I bring everything to you. So it's all inclusive. And that kind of helps them be like, okay. Because even like greenery, people will charge extra for like florals and greenery. And I'm like, why? You can go to Trader Joe's and you can get a bunch of eucalyptus for like under $3. Like, I'm not going to charge you extra for, I mean, if there's an upgrade or if there's, certain things that they want on the table, then we'll talk. But most of the time, if it's something small, I'll include it in and just be like, look, this is the price. I want to make it good for you. I want to make it luxurious. So that's what I'm all about. Well, and I feel like when you think of a charcuterie board, you think of that all being included already. So it's kind of like, I guess, how do the other people make their boards look good without adding that? Well, I mean, it varies with like a board or with a grazing table. So Grazing Table, there's lots of extras that can be added, but I don't charge extra for those additions. If it's a board, then yeah, you're gonna put the greenery and the florals and stuff all on it because that's just what people expect.
Right.
So there's different kind of levels there.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most rewarding part of working with couples on their big day?
Just I went through a lot of heartache and stuff in the past, and finding my man was like the most amazing feeling. Just finding someone who treats me right and treats me, like I should be treated. And so having someone experience that, whether it's like their first wedding or their third, I think it's amazing to just feel celebrate that they are, finding their person and being just all in their lovey-dovey ways and everything else.
Do you have any advice for newlyweds or couples getting married?
Gosh.
It could be anything, just like the first thing that comes to mind.
I have really worked with my husband on communication. We have a very open communication, whether it be just talking about the week, talking about politics, talking about the weather outside, all sorts of communication, but it also feeds down into those personal things, what you like, what you want in the marriage. I told him from the beginning I wanted flowers every month.
Has he stuck to it? Has he stuck to it?
He's missed 1 month, I think, out of the like first year. So, yeah, he's been pretty good.
That is pretty
been
good.
pretty consistent.
Yeah.
I'm a flower girl. I love flowers. So I'm like, once a month, bring me just bouquets from anywhere. I don't care. And then we just had some different things that we both felt like we wanted to set up at the beginning of our marriage to make it work. And it's one of those things that we've kept talking about and we keep, going back to. And, we've had a lot of, back and forth with our honeymoon. We stopped taking our honeymoon, but we are planning this summer to finally go and do it. It's just been busy. He works his own business, and so I work my own business, and we just haven't been able to do it. So
where are you guys going?
The Redwoods in California. He's actually never been to the Redwoods, so I'll get to introduce him and
that's awesome.
Possibly go down to California and see some family and stuff like that. So
nice. Well, that's exciting.
It's good.
So communication.
Oh yeah, communication number one is, down to the littlest things, and it's good when your partner and you are communicating and both have that same idea or same feelings about things, because that I know there are a lot of couples that have like different views on, religion or politics and stuff like that. But I think being with a partner that has the same views as you helps, because that was one thing we struggled with a lot before we got married was, we hadn't gone to church in a while. And when we finally connected with the church, it made all the difference. And we both said that this is what we need in our life to help us. And it's changed our whole relationship for the better.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What's a small detail that makes a huge difference on the wedding day?
A small detail that makes a huge difference would be definitely having everything planned out. So when you are planning a wedding, it's great all, getting the dress and finding the florist and, all these things beforehand. But the day of, you need to have a schedule, this is when we're going to show up to the venue and get dressed. This is when we're going to eat a snack. This is when we're going to actually get into my dress, the hair, makeup, and all the things. So it's I'm a very good person when it comes to having a schedule and everything. And it's funny, one of our DJ actually said, "Oh, well, weddings never start on time." Our wedding started right on time. I was it's gonna happen on time.
Yeah.
I don't want to dilly-dally. I don't want people waiting.
Yeah.
And it's funny, because our wedding started on time, there was actually one person that was coming in as the wedding party was already going down. I'm oh, okay, well.
I feel like
It
there's always
happens.
one person. There's always at least one.
But yeah, I mean, just having like a plan and a schedule for the day of is so important. And having delegations if you don't have like a wedding planner, which I highly recommend. But having like a certain person delegated to handling who's going to show the DJ where to go, who's going to show the guests where to sit, or, what happens after the ceremony when you're taking pictures and you're outside doing your thing. What are people doing inside? So it's all about that like day of planning. It's a huge thing that people don't really take notice of as much. It's a lot. The wedding day is a lot. So
I think the snack is the most important part because I feel like a lot of people just don't even like think about eating. They think about all the other things, and then that is the one that gets left out. But I feel like that would make the biggest difference, especially with your mood.
Well, and so on that note, I actually do a lot of getting ready boards. So I've got like a whole wedding package where it includes getting ready boards, a grazing table for all your guests, and then a honeymoon box that you take home at the end of the night.
That's so
because
important.
A lot of people don't eat while they're at their wedding too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, snack when you're getting ready. And I'm not a big foodie. It's so funny. I love the cheese and everything, but I really don't eat like a lot.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that I'm always like aware of people and how much they need during a big day like that.
Yeah. Well, it's important that somebody's thinking about it, so it's good that you do have that awareness.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.